What's up guys, Asian here again with another PTS video, and today we're actually going to be taking a look at Magicka Nightblade today. So we're going to take a little bit of a break from stamina DPS, but rest assured there are a couple of more stamina DPS tests that are on the way. Again, the reason why a lot of these videos so far have been kind of focusing in on stamina DPS is because a lot of the changes that were made on the Wrathstone PTS affect stamina DPS more than it did Magicka DPS. That being said, there are a few things that I did want to try out with Magicka DPS. So this is just the first of a handful of tests that I kind of want to take a look at with Magicka DPS. So this is the Magicka Nightblade. So why are we kind of taking a look at Nightblades? What has changed in the Wrathstone PTS to kind of warrant re-examining Nightblades? Well, the change came from the Ancient Knowledge passive. So the Ancient Knowledge passive, if we go ahead and take a look at it, this is on the PTS right now. It only says with a destruction staff equipped. So when you have a destruction staff equipped, if it's an Inferno Staff, it increases damage done with single target abilities by 8%. Lightning Staff increases area of effect abilities by 8%. And the Frost Staff has a couple of block reductions, both for cost and the amount of damage you can block. On the live server right now, you need to have a Destruction Staff ability slotted. So basically what this Ancient Knowledge passive change basically did was it allowed pretty much any Magicka DPS that required a Destruction Staff ability on the front bar, you can now get rid of it entirely because now you have Ancient Knowledge as long as you have that Inferno Staff equipped. So that opened up a couple of potential possibilities for a couple of classes. Most noticeably, Magicka Wardens no longer need to have a Destruction Staff ability on their front bar anymore, but also Magicka Nightblades typically ran the Destruction Staff ultimate on their front bar, which like I have here. Now that could create a couple of issues here when you want to use Master Architect. So right now on live, if you're a Magicka Nightblade and you're running Master Architect instead of Sororia, you'd be having it on your body because you would want to be running Soul Harvest in order to maximize the uptime on Major Slayer from Master Architect. Now with this change, you can now actually swap where your ultimates are. So you can put Destruction Staff ultimate on your back bar and put the Soul Harvest ultimate on your front bar instead. That basically allows you to have Master Architect on the front bar instead and allows you to run Burning Spellweave, Mother Sorrow, Spell Strategist on your body instead, basically giving you 100% uptime on that 5-piece effect there. So the question is, does that really affect DPS? Obviously the other question is, if I have the Destruction Staff ultimate on the back bar, I no longer have an assassination ability on the back bar, meaning I don't have the advantage of having that additional crit damage on the back bar. For Magicka Nightblade, this might not be a big deal just because we're bar swapping so often, we're not really sitting on our back bar for any significant period of time, so that hemorrhage loss may or may not be a significant factor or not. Of course, you could just double bar Soul Harvest instead, but obviously there are going to be fights where you will need to use Master Architect, but having the additional cleave might be useful as well. Generally speaking though, in those fights where you need that Destruction Staff ultimate for the additional cleave, you typically won't really be running Master Architect anyway on the front bar, just because you will need to use the Desert Staff ultimate more often than you will need to use the Soul Harvest ultimate. So let's go about and kind of take you through what I did in order to test things out. So in order to keep things as pretty much as even as possible, I tried to make this as best of a one-to-one comparison as I could. So obviously we're going to keep our two sets the same. So I stuck with Burning Spellweave and Master Architect. So Master Architect was on the body here, and this is your typical what you would run on live right now if you were running Master Architect as a Magicka Nightblade. You'd have Master Architect on the body, something like Scoria or Zahn, so I used Zahn here. And then a set like Burning Spellweave, maybe Spell Strategist, or Mother Sorrow on your front bar set. So I just stuck with Burning Spellweave here. So these are the sets that pretty much I tried to keep consistent. So I never really swapped sets out. So when I wanted to do Master Architect front bar, I just basically, instead of the Burning Spellweave Inferno Staff, I had the Master Architect Inferno Staff. And then I replaced the Master Architect sets up here, so now I have Burning Spellweave active at all times, and Master Architect is only active while I'm on my front bar here. So when I had Master Architect on the body, I had this bar set up on my front bar, so Impale, Swallow Soul, Crippling Grasp, Merciless Resolve, Inner Light, Fiery Rage. I used Swallow Soul rather than Elemental Weapon in order to kind of try to eliminate that minor vulnerability kind of randomness with Elemental Weapon. And then our back bar, Twisting Path, Blockade of Fire, Rearming Trap, Siphoning Attacks, Elemental Drain, and Soul Harvest. This was when I had Master Architect on the body. When I had Master Architect on the front bar, I basically swapped where these ultimates were. So I basically took Fire Rage, that was on the back bar, and Soul Harvest was on the front bar. Now in terms of the rotation itself, typically speaking, when you do Master Architect body, you will open up with the Destruction Staff ultimate and then use the Soul Harvest ultimate for every ultimate afterwards, versus the Master Architect front bar where you will pretty much only be using the Soul Harvest ultimate. So in order to kind of keep things a little bit even, I didn't think that using the Destruction Staff ulti would really affect things too much, but I did decide just to try to keep things consistent, just use the Soul Harvest ultimate the entire time. So I never used the Destruction Staff ultimate at all, even when I had Master Architect body, even though that is something that you would normally do when you start the parse. That's just, for my sake of mind, just to kind of eliminate that variable there. So what did we eventually find out? Let's hop over now to, oh, where did my thing go? Where is it? Okay, here it is. Sorry about that. So here are the results. So we have Master Architect on the front bar is on the left hand side, Master Architect body is on the right hand side. Here are the averages. So Master Architect one, we had it on the front bar, pulled almost 45.9k I should say, and Master Architect body pulled about 45.6k for about a 0.6% difference in DPS. Now one thing I do want to take note here is that the Master Architect body, this parse, I think I got some pretty lucky crit RNG here, so I got 46.9k here versus averaging, you know, low to mid 45. So if we completely take this out, then the gap does increase to 1.3%. So if we do remove this anomalous parse, then the gap does shrink a little bit here. So it does seem like Master Architect front bar is doing a little bit better than Master Architect body, especially when we get rid of this unusually high parse here. So overall, I would say that having Master Architect on the front bar is going to be beneficial. I think it's going to be a better DPS gain compared to running Master Architect on the body. A couple of the advantages of running Master Architect on the front bar is that currently if you have Master Architect on the body and you're in execute, you have to bar swap to your back bar to use a Soul Harvest ultimate and then bar swap back to your front bar in order to continue your execute rotation there. With Master Architect on the front bar, now you have Soul Harvest on the front bar. You don't necessarily need to break your front bar rotation, you just hit it right when you're on your front bar and continue to use Impale. Of course, you still need to go to your back bar in order to put down your source of minor force, your blockade, and siphoning attacks. But with Master Architect on the front bar, you basically remove a global cooldown, basically giving you an additional Impale or two every time you have to run. I should say, when you have to use your Soul Harvest ultimate. So if you're on Magicka Nightblade and you are running Master Architect, then I would recommend going with Master Architect on the front bar and using Soul Harvest as your ultimate on the front bar, and either double barring Soul Harvest or having the Desperate ulti on the back bar for those instances where you might want to use the Desperate ulti instead. So this result is likely going to carry over to the Magicka Templar as well. Magicka Templars are another class with a very low cost ultimate that can be used with Master Architect. I do have to kind of take a look at it specifically just because Soul Harvest does have an additional buff, the 20% damage received debuff on the enemy, which might skew things a little bit. The Magicka Templar, the Empowering Sweeps, does not have that as part of the ultimate, so I will be doing this test as well with a Magicka Templar as well as a Magicka Warden, just so I can see whether or not these results are consistent between those three classes. So that is it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative. If you guys have anything that you want me to test on Magicka DPS, so I am going to test out all the different races and their most optimized food and enchant combinations at some point. So that's really the only other test I have planned for Magicka DPS. So if you guys have anything you want me to explore, please leave them down in the comment section below. Again, hope you guys found this video informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.